teams and this going concern for Monday night headed up to Foxborough. We do have the Major League Baseball winter meetings being held right here in the great state of Maryland, and we'll see what the Orioles have under the hood. This guy does a lot of baseball and a lot of sports out at SI.com, and an occasional MLB Network guest yacker, as he says on his Twitter page at J_Jaffe. He is one of our defending champions. Always great to bring him in, a wealth of baseball information and knowledge, as well as his forthcoming book, The Cooperstown Casebook. We welcome Jay Jaffe back to Baltimore and WNST. What's going on in this baseball offseason? Nothing if you're an Oriole fan so far, right?
Yeah, it seems like the market is frog in my throat there.
No worries. Drink a little water, man. That's what I do.
It seems like the market has been a little bit slow to develop here with regards to the Orioles, but they're obviously not a team that generally gets in at the top of the market with the big spending players, but so they have to kind of wait and see what develops here. Very interested to see how the disappearance of many of Edwin Encarnacion's options plays out with regards to them, because they are a team that, at least in theory, could use a big bat like that to replace Mark Trumbo if Trumbo signs elsewhere. Could actually be an upgrade on Trumbo, given that he's generally a better first baseman than Trumbo is an outfielder.
It has been an interesting couple of years for Duquette. We call it the dumpster dive here, So for every Nelson Cruz, there have been mistakes. For every Mark Trumbo, there have been mistakes. And certainly on the pitching side, in waiting out the market and signing what's left on the cupboard of pitchers, whether it's Gallardo or Jimenez, or even the deal for the Wade Mileys and the givings away of the Jake Arrietas and the Rodriguez's. It's the offseason where he gets held accountable. And I don't know, in this organization, with the wackiness of the goof that owns the team, that can't be underscored, that Dan Duquette and Buck Showalter probably didn't want to give Chris Davis $160 million last year. That was more on Peter Angelos, I think.
Yeah, I think so. And to be fair, I think Duquette and Showalter have done very well with the parts that they have managed to scrounge up, sometimes at the lower end. I think the Orioles have defied a lot of expectations. I know they've defied my predictions generally over the last few years.
Hey, I'm still trying to figure out why Buck took the job, right? I mean, it still is. I don't know that anyone else could. Bobby Valentine laughed at them. Joe Girardi laughed at them. You know what I mean? Joe Madden would have never considered it. For Showalter to take this and make the playoffs 3 times, I mean, they should put a statue next to Earl Weaver, for crying out loud, I think.
Yeah, they've done a great job, and they've done it with players who I think in a lot of cases are not necessarily the players I would have gone out and gotten, but it helps having some very productive players and some unexpected production here and there. So. I think that Duquette and Showalter deserve at least some benefit of the doubt with the guys they bring in, but they can't all be Giovanni Gallardo and Ubaldo Jimenez after all.
Well, we've always given Buck the benefit of the doubt, and then the Toronto game came, the 11th inning came, and Zach Britton is still warming up in the bullpen somewhere up there in Canada. I don't know that there'll ever be any explanation for that. I know it greatly affected the entire postseason and the ideology of the Andrew Millers and, Aroldis Chapmans and how you're going to use your bullpen. It might go down as like an all-time gaffe, right? I mean, Buck is a genius, except in that hour, he wasn't a genius.
Yeah, he certainly made a mistake that I think other managers in the postseason saw and watched, and we saw some very interesting usage patterns for Andrew Miller, Aroldis Chapman, and Kenley Jansen that I think carries some ramifications going forward, less in the regular season than the postseason. But I don't think that's a mistake Showalter will make again. I think the charitable way to look at it is teachable moment. Unfortunately for the Orioles fans, obviously it came at the expense of their season. But what are you going to do there? He's done a great job of getting them there. And things like that. And Britton, they still have Britton, obviously a very effective pitcher, so it'd be very interesting to see if he can follow that season up.
Jay, I'm about to go into 25 years next week, and I think you've been coming on here for the better part of 20 years. We're both old farts, and we remember when these labor negotiations wouldn't just go deep into the night with a kumbaya. It would go deep into the winter without a kumbaya. I remember all of that. It feels like there's so much money, and one of the arguments on the front end was, well, there's so much money, they'll figure it out. said, that's what my dad said in 1981. That's what I said on the radio in 1994, and I was a fool. I tell you, I'll give Manfred this. They got the deal done, and they're going to go play baseball, and all the owners are going to cash in and make a lot of money. But the days of Marvin Miller and Donald Fear coming in with the knives and the hatchets on the owners, that's kind of gone too. It's almost like the players have gotten a little complacent and soft because they are making so much money. It really is a lot of money, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I just saw a report that industry revenues for this year are estimated at $10 billion, a new high. They've set highs every year for the last, something like 17. In connection with the election of Bud Selig, it was pointed out that when he took over as acting commissioner in 1992, the industry revenues were $1.2 billion. So obviously you could see the game has grown a lot over the last 25 years here. The general public certainly didn't have the appetite to watch another protracted labor war between the players and the owners when there's so much money going on. But there does seem to be some head scratching going on in the wake of the deal that was made. The Players Association made a big show out of bringing in several high-profile Latin American players, including Nelson Cruz and Robinson Cano, to try to beat back the attempt at instituting an international draft. And they were successful in that, but they may have lost an even bigger war because international spending is now capped at a much lower price tag than it would have been without the draft. So, it's there's a lot of fine print in this, and it's going to take weeks, months, years to appreciate all the ramifications of the new CBA.
Jay Jaffe is our guest from Sports Illustrated and SI.com. You can follow his journey out on Twitter, J_Jaffe. That's Jaffe. Just to make sure I get that right for everybody. The book is going to be the Cooperstown Case book. This is happening in the springtime, and I've looked at your Twitter timeline this week. You've gone after Curt Schilling pretty good. So let me give you full disclosure. Curt married my best friend growing up. I DJ'd their wedding. I've known Curt 20 some odd years, ever since the time he got thrown out of here and was pitching in Tucson in the Astros organization and beyond. I think he's a Hall of Fame pitcher. If I had a ballot, I would vote him in. But I feel similarly to where he's gone with his politics and where he's gone with his Facebook page and all of his thoughts. This isn't helping his Hall of Fame case. And I don't know whether that's good or bad, but, there are real people that vote on such things. And he's really sort of gone off the edge of the cliff the last 6 months, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I have made the case for Curt Schilling since he hit the ballot in 2013 that he is well qualified for the Hall of Fame. If you base it on his things beyond just his win total, which was just 216, not a lot by historical standards, but an increasingly impressive total in the wake of the changes that have happened in the game over the last quarter century. He was great at strikeouts. He was great at strikeout-to-walk ratio, was great at preventing runs, put up some impressive numbers that I have him among the top 30 pitchers of all time in my system, which is called JAWS. And that's without even considering the postseason stuff, and he's the best postseason pitcher since Bob Gibson. So, on a performance-only level, I think he's absolutely qualified for the Hall of Fame, and I have advocated for him since he hit the ballot in 2013. Now, I've been well aware of his politics since at least 2004 when he went stumping for George W. Bush the day after the Red Sox won the World Series. I don't necessarily have to agree with him on that, and I don't, but, hey, that's fine. What I take issue with is the series of increasingly offensive statements that led to him getting fired at ESPN, that have further alienated him, and the one about the T-shirts, the rope journalist, some assembly required, is generally,
that was the night I unfollowed him. Yeah, I would agree with you. That was the night where I'm like, well, I don't need to talk to him anymore. I mean, I do this for a living, and I'm a guy that had my press pass taken away by Angelos 10 years ago. So I am particularly offended by the president-elect's policy on how to treat the media by hanging them.
Yeah, I think it's this is an incitement to violence, and I think there's if whether or not you adhere to the character clause that's in the instructions for the Hall of Fame voting, I think you have to say that Schilling probably crossed a line there. There are people who, within the BBWAA, two past presidents, Susan Slusser and Jesus Ortiz, a number of other high-profile voters who have come out and said that Schilling crossed a line. I noted that in my column. And said that, well, given what he's done and given all this, yeah, I don't think I could support him right now. I don't know if that's a permanent position. Like I said, if it were, I would have not published the annual update to the column. I think his numbers are still there, but in good conscience, I just can't support what he's doing right now, and I think he needs to take a good long look at himself. To think about whether he actually wants to be up on that stage at Cooperstown someday, or whether he wants to be the hot take artist of Facebook.
And then there's Bud Selig getting in and sort of rubber stamping everything he's done and, quite frankly, didn't do. I was around in '94 when there was no World Series. I remember the steroid era and him looking the other way. I remember that goofy look on his face in Milwaukee at the All-Star game. I remember all of this. I know he's made a lot of money for himself. He's made a lot of money for them. He stole a lot of money from the Wisconsin state government and getting that stadium built and flipping the thing and running it but not running it with his daughter and his son-in-law and all the other nonsense that went on. I'm kind of shocked that he's that popular that it just sort of happened that way. And now we're going to put in the enabler into the Hall of Fame, but everybody that stuck a needle in their arm is not going to be eligible, or those we perceive who stuck a needle in their arm.
Yeah, no, we have reached, I think, a critical moment in the way that players from that era are viewed with regards to Hall of Fame candidacy and performance-enhancing drugs. Because if Selig's involvement in collusion and the cancellation of the World Series and the proliferation of PEDs on his watch, if those weren't black enough marks to keep him out of the Hall of Fame, to the point that 7 out of 8 Hall of Famers, at least 7 out of 8 Hall of Famers, because you got 15 out of 16 votes and half the panel was made up out of Hall of Famers, at least 7 out of 8 Hall of Famers condoned that on this Today's Game committee. That to me, that tells me that this character, integrity, sportsmanship stuff is hooey, and that maybe we just do need to throw out the character clause, and we do need to consider just the performance only when it comes to guys like Barry Bonds and Roger Clemens and Manny Ramirez and whatever. I mean, I think Ramirez is in a different camp given that he was actually suspended, but you go back and you talk about Mark McGwire and Bonds and Clemens at a time when there were no rules and no enforcement for PEDs within the game, and the person most responsible for that is Bud Selig, and he's in the Hall of Fame now. So I think there are voters who are going to be taking a hard look at that slippery slope.
Jay Jaffe's got a book coming out in the spring, the Cooperstown Case book. Just tell me briefly about that and what that entails for June, right?
Yeah, it's for June. This is a summary and an expansion of what I've been doing, first at Baseball Prospectus and then at Sports Illustrated for the last 14 Hall of Fame election cycles, using wins above replacement on a career and peak basis to compare candidates to players who are already in the Hall of Fame, detailing the ups and downs of their careers, explaining the other factors that go into Hall of Fame consideration, taking a deep dive into the history of the Hall of Fame and its processes, and a quick look at the sabermetric viewpoint of all the players who are in the Hall of Fame and some of the top candidates who aren't. It's a book I'm very excited about. It's been about 10 years in the making since the idea first crossed my mind, and I'm gratified that it's coming out next June. It'll be ready to take up to induction weekend. Hopefully, we'll be celebrating the election of Tim Raines and Jeff Bagwell and who knows who else.
You're not going to throw Louis Aparicio out of the Hall of Fame, my cousin now, right?
No, but I think I may have been. I've definitely said some words about Louis' case that may not be your favorite things in the book. Let's put it that way. But he's in there. I can't throw him out. More power to him.
Hey, the stats are the stats. They speak for themselves. He stole a lot of bases. He had a great glove, and he got the party started. 59 Go-Go Sox, 66 Orioles. Yep. Come on.
Yeah, he's in there.
Don't throw him out now. Come on.
No, I'm not saying we should at all.
All right. I want to find out who should pack their plaques. I'm looking forward to getting your book. We'll have you back on again in the spring. Happy off-season, you, Jay. It's always a pleasure.
All right, thanks, Nestor. Take care.
You got it, Jay Jaffe from SportsIllustratedSI.com and the Cooperstown Case book. He writes books. No one knows more about baseball than Jay now. Jay's covering it. Jay_Jaffe. That's Jaffe, as well as at SI.com. You can find me out in the Bayou Toyota Audio Vault 24 hours a day from anywhere in the world on your mobile device by downloading the TuneIn radio app. We do come in crystal clear from anywhere in the world. The morning newspaper ships to your email inbox digitally, courtesy of Planet Fitness and PlanetFitness.com. Still $10 a month to get in the best shape of your life there. Work off the eggnog, work off the pumpkin pie, the cookies that I haven't had yet that I'm dying to have, yes. Last but not least, breaking news happens first on the WNST Tech Service. That is powered up by Coons Ford of Security Boulevard. Dennis Colossos will be here from 3 until 5, driving you home on the SSV on WNST. That's this Thursday and every Thursday. Wednesday night, we've got Marshall Yonda joining us at Greenmount Station in Hampstead in Carroll County. We'll be there at 7:30. We'll be swabbing for the Bone Marrow Registry and for There Goes My Hero. Should be a great, great conversation with the bearded one. Got some good beards going on in this locker room right now with Weddle and with Marshall Yonda, amongst others. I talked to Pitta last week about the Fu Manchu. We're not going back there. No doubt about that. Nasty at WNST.net is the best way to reach me on email. I am a very available individual. Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, Snapchat, Instagram, streaming live on our Facebook as well as our YouTube WNSTV channel. We are WNST.net, AM 1570, and WNST Towson, Baltimore, and we never stop talking Baltimore sports.